The Unfunded Mandate Reform Act came into existence during the 104th Congress. Unfunded mandates as an issue rose to the fore as a national issue in the 1980s. An unfunded mandate is a reference to any piece of federal legislation that requires a state, local, or tribal government to perform an action at their level without providing the funds to carry them out. In the early 1990s, these actions convinced members of Congress to start introducing legislation. 12 unfunded mandate bills were introduced in the House of Representatives, and 10 were introduced in the Senate during the 102nd Congress. None of these bills were reported out of committee. The 103rd Congress had 32 bills about unfunded mandates introduced, and one bill, Senate Bill 993, made it out of committee. In August, it was placed on the legislative calendar, and the motion to proceed to consideration of the measure was made in the Senate on October 6th. This is where the opposition to the bill struck. In essence, the bill was amended to death. The proposals and subsequent floor procedure in the reading of these non-germane amendments left the bill floundering on the floor. The Senate adjourned without ever voting on the measure. S 993 officially died on the Senate floor when the 103rd Congress ended without the measure being voted on. In the 104th Congress, Republicans took control of both chambers of Congress. One of their core principles in their Contract with America was unfunded mandate reform. The Contract with America, which was implemented immediately after the Republican Party took control of the House of Representatives and the Senate for the first time since the 1950s. The first bill in the Senate was Senate Bill 1, which dealt directly with this issue. It was referred to several committees and was reported out of them on January 9th and was passed shortly thereafter. A similar bill came out of the House called H.R. 5. These were sent to conference committee because they had two serious differences in their composition. These were reconciled and passed on March 15th, 1995. In the streams theory of the political process, there are three families of process, or the three Ps: problems, policies, and politics. The three streams generated out of this are problem recognition, the formation and refining of policy proposals, and politics. These streams operate relatively independently of each other, but not completely. All of the streams must come together in order to produce legislation. This coming together is called a policy window. The Unfunded Mandate Reform Act is an example of such legislation. Unfunded mandate reform was recognized as a problem in the 1980s. The second stream, the formation and refining of policy proposals, started in the 102nd Congress. But bills continued to fail because only two of the three streams were coming together, while the third, politics, was still running independently. Unfunded mandates from the federal government was a direct expression of what Republicans saw as a central government overreach. But they were not in a position in the late 1980s and early 1990s to seriously budge policy. The 1994 midterm election of the 104th Congress changed this long-standing dynamic, and allowed the third stream of politics to finally come in line with the other two, finally passing the Unfunded Mandate Reform Act.